Hello everyone, today I will begin my presentation with a question. Can you guess the philosopher? So, little information about him. He was a German philosopher who had a great mustache, had profound thoughts, had tendency to stir up controversy, proclaimed God is dead, and declared himself as the prophet of Uberness. Now we proceed to Friedrich Nietzsche. Well done if you guessed. My name is Ivaila Trenkova, and today I will talk about Friedrich Nietzsche life, family life, born place, his major works, his early achievements, and basically what happened in his life. To begin with, a little personal information about him. So, Friedrich Nietzsche was a German philosopher who was born on October 15, 1844, in Rockenbay, Lützen. His father, Karl Nietzsche, died when Friedrich was only 4 years old, and his sister and he were raised by his mother, Franziska. Despite his tough childhood, Nietzsche had a brilliant school and university career. He left a remarkable trait in the history of philosophy. At the age of 24, he was called to a chair in classical philology at Basel, Switzerland. He was the youngest ever appointed to that post. His philosophical polemics, poetry, and cultural criticism were spanned a lot during these years and associated with modernity. Many of these criticisms rely on psychological diagnoses that expose false consciousness infecting people's ideas. For that reason, he is often associated with a group of late modern thinkers, including Marx and Freud. Nietzsche published intensively in the 1870s and 1880s, and many of his early publications were philology. However, he was really interested in philosophy and particularly into the works of Schopenhauer and Friedrich Nietzsche. Now, little about his family life and born place. As I mentioned, his father died when he was 4 years old. His sister Elizabeth and he were raised by their mother Francisca. After his father's death, the family moved to different places. In the picture on the right hand of the slide, you can see his house, which is in Rockenbell-Lützen, the Prussian province of Saxony at that time. It was a really quiet and peaceful village. Now we continue with Nietzsche's friendship with Wagner. Nietzsche assisted in the early planning of Wagner's Bayreuth project and attended his first festival that was organized by Wagner's. Nietzsche was not impressed by the cultural atmosphere there and he wanted to end up his relationship with Wagner. Nietzsche left Basel for 1 year after a problem with his health. He used this time to explore broadly the naturalistic critique of traditional morality and culture and made a great friendship with Paul Ree, who was working into his work, his Origin of Moral Sensation. Human, Ode to Human, was a research conducted from Nietzsche in 1878, which became very famous by introducing the corrosive attacks on conventional pieties. When he sent that research to Wagner in 1878, he ended that friendship with him. Nietzsche's health did not improve during the leave and he was forced to resign his professorship in 1878. However, he continued to write and develop works that collected critical observations and morality. Some of his most famous works are The Guy Science, Beyond Good and Evil, On the Genealogy of Morality, The Wagner Case, and etc. Now, a brief introduction to Wagner's Bayreuth project. So, Wagner's goal was to establish a place where his operas could be presented without financial and artistic restraints. He established an opera house in Bayreuth and achieved his goals. The opera house had a close relationship between the performers and the audience. The festival grew to be an annual occasion, drawing music lovers and Wagner's fans from all over the world. In the picture, you can see how the building looks like today after it was renovated. And this is the building and Wagner's project, which Nietzsche did not approve and like. Now, moving to Nietzsche friendships with Paul Ree and Louis Salome. As I mentioned, after Nietzsche ended his relationship with Wagner, he consisted into the relationship with Paul Ree and Louis Salome. At the beginning of this period, Frederick enjoyed an intense and painful relationship with Paul Ree and Louis Salome. Louis Salome was a young Russian student. The three of them initially wanted to live together as intellectual commune, but Nietzsche and Rie developed a romantic interest in Salome. Firstly, Nietzsche tried to propose marriage to Salome, which turned out to be unsuccessful. After that, Salome and Rie departed for Berlin, leaving Nietzsche alone. It was a really tough years for him. In later years, Nietzsche tried to find a climate that would improve his health. He spent winters near the Mediterranean, usually in Italy, and summers in Switzerland. He had intense headaches, nausea, and trouble with his eyesight. Some recent publications argue that he probably had suffered from a slow growing tumor in his brain. I will talk about Nietzsche conditions later in That's Why. Now we are moving to Nietzsche's doctrines. Nietzsche's key doctrines that have focused on broad themes and the idea of will to power, whose activity is explained by the principle to pursue the expansion of their power, that the power stands of thought that does not claim the world, but instead express Nietzsche's values and his views about power and ideas to motivate pessimism, something opposed against Schopenhauer's ideas. Nietzsche's second interest is in based the notion of perspectivism. He thought that past philosophers had ignored the influence of their own perspectives in their works and failed to control those perspectival effects. His perspective view has a positive and critical side because he frequently criticizes dogmatic philosophers for ignoring the perspectival limitations, and he holds his view that perspective makes a positive contribution by expressing independently any point of view. His third concept of the internal recurrence of the sum is a philosophical ideal position in his work. Thus spoke Zarathustra. It proposes that the universes and all events in it are repeatedly, endlessly, and identically. For Nietzsche, this notion serves as a test of including both joy and suffering. He presents the challenge to existence fully, to live in a way that could be the same over and over for eternity. This concept has influenced the love of faith and challenges individuals to create meaning and value in the world without meaning of purpose by emphasizing the importance of personal responsibility. As you can see, also, I listed the three most important doctrines of Nietzsche. Now, we are moving to Nietzsche's values. The closest to organizing his value claims in his insistence on the importance of power and life with related ideas about strength, health, and life. In his work, The Antichrist, we can see a well known passage about what is good, everything that heightens the feeling of power in man, the will to power, power itself. Next, what is bad, everything that is born of weakness. What is happiness? The feeling that power is growing, that resistance is overcome. He believed that individuals seek their power by overcoming obstacles and limitations and associated this with strength and courage. Nietzsche criticized the moral values of Christianity and manifestations of slave morality and encouraged individuals to embrace their own power and potential. Moving to his second value is the truthfulness and honesty. His value commits him to honesty. Nietzsche says that honesty is all our virtue the last left to us, and truthfulness is the measure of strength or even of value as such. How much truth does a spirit endure? How much truth does it dare? Nietzsche says that I do not want to believe it, although it is palpable. His commitment to truthfulness and honesty reflect to his philosophical view and differs from traditional understandings. He famously declared that good is dead by referring to the decline of religious beliefs and traditional moral values. He emphasizes the importance of expressing honesty by understanding the complexities of human existence and limitations of human knowledge. He also emphasizes values such as morality, art, artistry, individual autonomy, and freedom of spirit. Now we are moving to his some of major works. First, on truth and life. He explores the nature of truth by suggesting that truth is a human invention born out to need of communication. He believes that language distorts reality, creating illusion that separates individual from the truth of existence. Secondly, Thus Spoke Zarathustra is a philosophical novel that presents Nietzsche's ideas through the techniques of character Zarathustra, who delivers speeches on topics such as overman and the eternal recurrence. Beyond Good and Evil, the third critiques traditional morality that explores themes such as the will to power. Last but not least, we'll talk about The Birth of Tragedy, which explores the origin and nature of Greek tragedy, discussing the tensions between the Apollonian and Dionysian art and culture. Moreover, we have some of his work that contains collections of essays on a wide range of topics and works that present a key contribution to philosophy till nowadays. And now I will talk little about his death. In January 1889, Nietzsche collapsed in Turin. He returned to Basel, where he wanted to receive treatment. After unsuccessful treatment in Basel, he was sent into the care of his mother and later his sister. 1 year later, he died of a stroke and pneumonia. He died in 1890. After his death, his sister Elizabeth assumed control of his literacy and published The Antichrist and Esse Homo. These works are still famous and influential till nowadays. In conclusion, I want to mention one interesting fact about Nietzsche. He wanted and really enjoyed to live in remote areas and spent much of his time traveling. He preferred to travel alone, especially after he didn't engage with Salome. He preferred isolated mountains, cabins, or remote villages. Surely he was a fascinating and interesting personality. Now, I want to thank you for the attention and giving the chance to present this great philosopher today. Here it is my bibliography. Thank you.